Care is my true responsibility. Combat. Leave them to me.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose, I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for these issues. So I am collecting some of my older Wonder Woman videos because I'm about to restart Wonder Woman. I have a playlist, feel free to check that out. We're doing John Byrne's run on Wonder Woman, and we're going to be doing 5 issues today. Issues 113, 114, 115, 116, and 117. Kind of another collection here. So, as I mentioned, I have a playlist. Feel free to check that out. And as always, thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the DC fan page that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this story. So we are continuing our run of Wonder Woman by John Byrne. I've covered every single issue. Feel free to check the playlist. If you missed any, I started with 101. So we have covered his first year, and now we are starting year number 2. John Byrne had a nice little run with Wonder Woman. And so here we go. Great cover. I love this period of John Byrne. I love these thick inks. This version of John Byrne is my absolute favorite version. Great cover. So this is Inkslinger generation, our era of John Byrne, and I absolutely love it. Love the way he does the hair. Love the way he just everything. This 90s version of John Byrne is, to me, hands down the best version of John Byrne, and it's my favorite. I just the way he inks himself in these issues. So we start out with the title page, Are You Out of Your Minds? I forgot. It's the mom. It's Casey's mom. I forgot her name. So it's just... So the living room of the Sandsmark residence, one summer evening in Gateway City. Isn't it bad enough that Cassandra almost got killed trying to help fight that virtual clone of Doomsday? Are you really going to stand there and tell me that you think she should be allowed to continue this lunacy? Cassandra acquitted herself admirably in that battle, Helena. So Helena was her name. She has fine instincts and native cunning. With the proper training, she could be a superb warrior. And Casey's like, yeah. So I don't believe I'm hearing this. When Julia Kapatelis suggested I give you a job at the museum, she didn't mention you tried to turn her daughter, Vanessa, into a junior Amazon. Since I did not, but only because circumstances never arose. Jason, am I wrong in this? Am I missing some significant point? I would say not, Helena. It seems to me that young Cassandra is far too young to embark upon such a dangerous venture. Young, but by the time I was her age, I had already completed more than half of my training. And I love the scowl here. And you got no place to talk anyway, Jason. That's how you change. The light bulb in your kitchen. She paused. Again, we see the effect of the enchantment placed on Cassandra by the Phantom Stranger. She saw Jason Blood transform from his true form of Etrigan the Demon. But the stranger placed a block in Casey's mind, preventing her from revealing the knowledge to anyone. This is getting us nowhere. I fear if it is your wish that Casey not receive the training I could give her, Helena, then I am bound to honor this. I saw you change a tire. Diana, what are you saying? She was... And so, This is your mother's decision to make, Cassie. I cannot argue with her on this point any more than I would have been allowed to dispute the decision of my own mother when I was your age. But Diana, with your hand still messed up from punching Doomsday, you're in top shape. You're not in top shape to be Wonder Woman. You need Wonder Girl. It's true, my hand has taken longer to heal than I might have expected, especially since the gauntlet of Atlas was multiplying my already not inconsiderable strength and stamina when I broke the final blow in the battle with the false Doomsday. But that is still not sufficient reason for me to go against the wishes of your mother, and Cassie's not taking it very well. So if it is settled, shall we go, Helena? We are close to missing the opening curtain. All right, Jason, I'm sorry for the delay, Diana. I have your word now that you won't allow Cassie to get into any trouble. My word as an Amazon and a princess of Themyscira. I cannot believe Wonder Woman is the babysitter for this kid. All right. I'm looking forward to this, Jason. It's supposed to be one of the best productions of Hamlet ever staged. The best since the Bard's own time, to be sure, and remind me someday to tell you the true tale of the man who wrote those plays. Cassandra, I can't believe you double-crossed me like that, Diana. You said you'd stand up for me against my mom. I said I would plead your case to Helena, Cassie. I did not say I would go against her desires. Now, I believe Helena said you had some homework to complete before you went to your babysitting job this evening. So she's not babysitting Helena, or Casey. All right. I do not believe this. Here I help Diana beat Doomsday, the guy who killed Superman, and the moment Mom says no, Diana caves. Some Wonder Woman. Great perspective. John Byrne is such a incredible storyteller. Wow. Just wow. Well, I'm not going to cave. I figured out a way to stop that runaway robot statue the very day Diana and I met back in 105, which I have covered. And then I didn't even have Wonder Girl's powers. I really don't like doing this since it sort of means breaking into Diana's apartment. But I have to prove to Mom and Diana that I can handle myself and be a help against the bad guys. Of course, all of a sudden I'm realizing this kind of depends on some bad guy conveniently turning up somewhere that I can find out about. So I don't think I can count on that happening real soon. So now we're going back in time 2 hours ago. Great. Again, John Byrne, what a storyteller he is. So I says to her, just eat the parts that, hey, what in? So we are in some kind of jail. What the heck happened to the fence? Look at this powder on the ground. It's like a chunk of the fence just disintegrated. When the blazes could do something like that? Hey, this looks kind of like that scene in Terminator, where the time travel thingy appears and eats a piece of the fence. And so, of course, they don't see that creature behind them from the previous issue. Yeah, well, I don't think Arnold is gonna. And then all of a sudden, as she grabs them and takes, I think she's taking like their life force away. Fools, it has been centuries since I had any prolonged contact with humans, but it would seem their intelligence has increased not one whit in that time. Still, their foolishness serves only to make my task that much easier. I can breach this wall as easily as I did that fence. And she's got some kind of like heat vision like Superman. And if my information is correct, what I seek should be here, leaving no clue as to how the warehouse was broken into and what exactly was taken. Police sources informed that the entire stock of the warehouse was reduced to a fine powder, making the inventory impossible. Yes. So, if you look behind this cityscape, John Byrne, even in the early days, was using his computer to draw Um, Photoshop had probably just started. It's nothing like it was today, and he would build modeling on his computer and do this. So this is John Byrne using the computer to create these backgrounds. I knew it was a brilliant idea to bring my transistor radio. I haven't been on patrol for more than 10 minutes, and already there's a job for Wonder Girl. I better not just drop into the middle of that mess. So far, Wonder Girl has only had one public appearance, and everyone was paying attention to Diana and the champion than me. So rather than wasting time answering questions, I'll just listen for some of my own. Great. Um, just John Byrne is such a master storyteller. No way at all to guess what was taken. Nope. It's like I told the cops. We can even be sure if anything has been stolen. Hardly looked like someone would go to all this effort to break in and mulch everything in here and not take something. What exactly did you have stored in here anyway? They ask. That's not on a need to know list for tonight, officer. In fact, I want you and your men to clear the area immediately. We're clamping a security seal in this whole situation. I don't think so, pal. Whoever did this came in off public streets and most likely left the same way. This makes this this guy goes, "Hey, look at this." And Cassie's like, "Where are they going?" "Right over here. Take a look." Footprints, bare footprints. And not only that, they cross just over here and then stop. So whoever left them either backed out of here walking perfectly in his original prints or flew out under his own power. Now we're getting somewhere. If there's a new bad guy in town who can fly, then this is right up my street. Hey, who's that? And so, holy cow, it's Decay. I saw pictures of her in the paper after the first time she fought Diana in Boston. Okay. And Mike Shore said Decay was one of the quantum clones created by the virtual reanimator that made Doomsday. But all those clones were supposed to have gone splot the same way Doomsday did. And since the real Decay was destroyed in her first battle with Wonder Woman, so Cassie stops her and says, "Just who the heck are you, lady? Who? No, that emblem on your chest, it's a sign of Wonder Woman." And she goes, "That's Wonder Girl to you, prune face," and kicks the whatever it is that she took off her. "That is stolen property, I think." And Decay's like, "No." Holy, as Decay starts falling. And Cassie's like, "I gotta catch her." Sorry, but vertical panels, I'm trying to go up. And so, gotcha, as Cassie grabs. But of course, Decay, what the heck? Touching her made my whole hand go dead, but she was wearing the protective stuff, so it destroyed the glove instead of her hand. But that means I can't catch her. Oh god, oh god, oh god, I killed her. I didn't know she needed that box to be able to fly. And then she goes, "There's nothing I can do for her. The box cracked open on impact. What's this inside it?" It's purring. It's sort of purring, like there's a power source inside, and Decay's like, "Yes." "Insolent child," as she touches her. "This new form I inhibit is very different from the body into which I was born. At first I thought it to be a perfect receptacle for my wandering spirit, homeless since Princess Diana destroyed my original form." You can see again touching her. "But though this body is nearly indestructible, it requires an outside source of energy in order to maintain itself, a source such as this." "That's just because you're just a clone of Decay, ugly. You were created by a virtual reanimator, and according to Mike's score, Those clones can only store energy for a limited time. How little you know, mortal. It is true this body is an effigy created by the witchery of science, but the spirit in which dwells within it is that of the Gorgon's child. When this form was conjured into being, I sensed it and moved at once to make it my own. If you say so, Pruneface, but you're up against the star pitcher for the holiday school for young ladies intramural baseball team. And she tosses that back at her, hitting the box. So she drops it and picks it up. So she, of course, is hurt on her. And so she goes and hides, but trips. And so Cassie's arm is hurt, so she just has to leave it. And there goes Decay. So Wonder Woman is sort of thinking about stuff. And there was some kind of earthquake, and they interrupt it. And according to this guy here, it says that it was a worldwide earthquake, and Earth's mantle shifted about 18 inches. Of course, Wonder Woman says, I would have expected her to come running out of her room after a jolt like that. She goes, Casey, are you there, Casey? And realizes that she's not there, so she flies out. And so Decay is still following her, so she's gonna try to fly off again. And so she feels dizzy. You cannot escape me, child, says Decay. When I first heard this small device might exist and where it would be, I knew it was precisely the thing I needed to solve my problem of my constant energy drains. Your human scientists intended it to be a miniaturized power source for the vessels which your species seek to pierce the vaults of heaven, so like a rocket. And so Casey's trying to make her use up her energy. So and she's like, yeah, it's not that much energy. Look at this. He draws her hair and then the walls, just amazing. Look at this. This dude can draw. Goodness gracious. So the Decay says, surrender now and I promise to you a quick and painless death. Yeah, right. Like being shriveled up like a year-old apple would be painless. Very well, she says. You have chosen the form of your death, whelp. Be it on your head. And she grabs her foot and she screams, hollering in pain. And so Decay starts to work on her, but suddenly, boom, here comes Wonder Woman. And Cassie's falling. And she catches her. I will have to, hardly, Cassie, I will have to explain to your mother. Fortunately, the increased stamina granted by the Gauntlet of Atlas will allow you to quickly recover. But Diana, she's the clone Mike saw. Perfect. A double victory for a single battle. And she uses like fire that comes out from her. And it kind of disintegrates. She says, my plan works. She's almost out of power. And so stay here, Wonder Girl. And awesome. Just she's not even in costume this issue. I don't know if you guys have noticed. And still makes her look like a total badass. So I do not know what you have done to diminish Decay's power, but I know what I must do. And she just hurls right through her, breaking her into just all these pieces. If you are truly the spirit of the demon Decay in this form, you will present a greater challenge than did the clones of Flash, Sinestro, and Doomsday. And she goes, what are you doing, Diana? Why don't you Smush her like you did Doomsday. Doomsday was merely a construct, Cassandra. Decay is a wandering spirit, apparently able to migrate from one unliving form to another. But as long as the form is not completely destroyed, she will be trapped inside its parts, unable to reassemble them as they are kept separated. Now you must tell me what you did uh, to so weaken Decay. Well, that was really easy. When I figured out how she was getting her power, I switched my transistor radio to this gizmo she stole. Then it was just a case of waiting for her power to run out. You took a great chance, Cassie. If I had not arrived when I did, as she picks up the pieces. Now you sound like my mom again, Diana. She's always getting on my case for things that might have happened. When you did arrive when you so did. And she goes, perhaps we should discuss this at a greater length later. And so Wonder Woman picks up a couple barrels. For now, it is time to contain these fragments of Decay so that the police can take care of them. Yeah, right. I would send it to the JLA. So she gets her to her babysitting job. And so she says, "Hi, I'm Casey Sansmeyer. Thank goodness, I was beginning to think you weren't coming. I hope you don't mind. My neighbor asked if she could look after her little boy too. Not a problem. One kid or two. I found it doesn't make much of a difference." And she says, "Well, we'll get along just fine." And so thus ends our issue here. So Wonder Woman 113, written and drawn by John Byrne. Hope you liked it. Just look at this beautiful art. John Byrne is so good. So absolutely love his art. I hope his videos actually get pretty good playlists. So I will be continuing this run. So looking at Wonder Woman 114 from 1996 by John Byrne. This is my favorite era of John Byrne. Absolutely love his kinetic inking. You can see here even on the hair, he's just spotting blacks like crazy. Nice thick line. He's inking himself. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I absolutely love this version of John Byrne. I have covered the beginning of his run, starting with issue 101, and we will go through his entire run, which concludes in 136. So we are not even quite halfway through his run here. I have these issues individually. I absolutely love them. They're I read them so much over the years. I absolutely love these issues. But unlike places like Cartoonist Kayfabe, where I just set up the camera, and I prefer to just digital. It's just so much easier. So, all right, here we go. So we start out with sort of a half splash page. So Nightmare Alley is the title. And I'm not going to read all this. John Byrne's basically talking about dreams and stuff. I'm just going to go in the last paragraph here. Her name, for those who might require introduction, is Vanessa Kapatelis. And though she does not know it yet, the nightmares that vex her are directly the result of her friendship with the Amazon warrior the world has come to know as Wonder Woman. Real quick, just simple panel here showing her in the bedroom, but John Byrne is just such a good storyteller, such a good artist. I really enjoy John Byrne so much. I'm going to go through everything John Byrne has ever done. Just like I'm going to go through everything Walter Simonson has ever done. Those two are some of my favorites. If you're interested in Walter Simonson, I've serialized his Thor run. I have a playlist with that. And I've also been serializing his run on Orion on DC Comics. So, um, yeah, John Byrne, just such a master. So, this Vanessa wakes up and says, "Oh man, that was the worst one yet." I'd say something cute like, "That's the last time I eat pizza and ice cream before I go to bed." Probably shouldn't. Love how John Byrne just puts everything here. He doesn't skimp out on backgrounds. It's so refreshing. You see um artists nowadays do just look at John Byrne. Does the entire freaking bathroom. That's awesome here. So, but I've been watching my diet lately and I haven't eaten anything bad. Whatever's causing this nightmare, it's not. And then she goes, "Eek," as she sees herself kind of melting away. And you can see there. Oh, how absolutely awesome. Look at this. John Byrne is, what great storytelling, what mastery. And so she wakes up again. So she had a nightmare and then woke up from the nightmare, but turns out it was still a nightmare. So she says, "This is the fourth time in as many nights that I've had dreams within dreams. This can't be normal." Real quick, notice the rug, how it changed. So I've been working lately studying for my midterms, but studying had never stressed me out like this before. And then suddenly, as I said, and it's like trying to, she's like, "Not again." And she's yelling, "Please, somebody help me." Great. Oh my goodness gracious. John Byrne is great. Absolutely great. So Wonder Woman has arrived. Never fear, Vanessa. So, talk about showing up in the nick of time. "You will be safe while I attend to this beast," as she lunges herself in there. It's kind of funny, and I say this every single time. John Byrne doesn't skimp on details yet. Look at the lasso. He's been doing this in the beginning, just a tiny little rope, and then doing the, yeah, so cool. It's just original and neat just to see that, how he just takes such a simple approach to the lasso. So the girl calls out for Diana as she goes in there, kind of ripping that monster to pieces. And she says, "There, that spawn of Hades will vex the world no more." "But Diana, how did you get here? I mean, your timing was perfect, but..." And Wonder Woman, who, by the way, looks like something's up here. So, "I sense you're distressed, Vanessa. Luckily, the speed of Hermes allowed me to fly cross country from Gateway City before you were harmed." And she says, "You sense my distress? When do you have that kind of power?" "I'm not sure. It merely came to me that you needed help, and I flew here as quickly as I could. After all, if you are to perish, Vanessa," and then we get a bit of a pause here, "I would prefer it be by my hand." And so, we always did know something was up as Diana lunges at her. And she's like, "Not so fast." And she's yelling, "No. Yes, you have been a thorn on my side for too long." And as Wonder Woman presses her through that window, "The time has come to eliminate that thorn forever." And she's like, "Diana, no, please, I'm your friend." Again, look at John Byrne put the work in. My goodness gracious, look at this. Oh my goodness. And it's funny. He works and then kind of just this dude is a master. It just, wow. So Wonder Woman laughs. "Friend, I'm a princess of the race of Amazons. I have no need of friends." And she lets her go to fall into the fire. And she wakes up again. So she goes, "It was a dream again. I know. I'm sorry, I should have known. Even as it was happening, I should have known. I should have been able to tell." And then she screams, "What is happening to me?" So now we are in the Greater Boston Institute for the Criminally Insane. I don't think criminally insane is a word, but I mean, you either go into, um, you know, like, um, what is it called? A psych, or you go to jail, one of the two. So, all right. And so this lady goes, and his condition remains unchanged? Not so much as a glimmer, completely catatonic, some kind of reaction to the sedatives. Um, Morning, Henry. Quiet all night, I suppose. Quiet as a grave, doctor. So we see this door here. So it must be some kind of superpowered person. Interesting. This is not the condition in which he was brought here, is it? Not at all. He was completely lucid, if not altogether stable, says the doctor. Again, look at this. Look at John Byrne just putting in the work, showing backgrounds. Just you just don't see too many modern artists do this. So, well, I suppose I should talk to him, see if I can get through. Open up, would you, Henry? Okay, Doc, but be real careful. There's something about the way he's so quiet that makes him seem even more dangerous, and you can't see. So, now then, Doctor, does he have a name we can use? None that need to be concerned of you, he says. Hey, he talks, says the doctor. What in the... Fight it. Don't let it overwhelm your mind. It's only an illusion, says the doctor. Yes, illusions, but illusions so real it can kill. So he walks, whatever, these little bubbles or whatever. So dispatches these poor people here. I've waited months for the right moment to strike. Wonder Woman had warned these fools not to be taken in by any apparent disappearance of myself from that cell. So, looks like he's just walking away. I don't know whether he's going toward these two guys or toward the other one. So I was compelled to bide my time until the door was open, amusing myself with exercises to keep my talents honed. And she's like, what? It's over. It's really over this time. I can feel it. So it looks like he was preoccupied with this girl. So, Mommy, I got to tell her what happened. There's more going on here than just me having bad dreams. Mommy, the weirdest thing has been happening. And the mom's like, still no explanation of that freak earthquake it says here. So, and that was on last issue. Have some breakfast, honey. It will calm you down. And Vanessa says, I don't need to calm down. I need you to listen to me. According to this story, though, scientists have confirmed what Cave Carson and his teams first suspected. The mom continues to read. Mom, will you listen to me? The whole crust of the Earth shifted, moving to the western hemisphere 18 inches north. Mom, is it really you? So the mom's acting strange here, according to Vanessa. Some bacon and eggs ought to set you right, Vanessa. Here, let me get them for you. Mom, and look, the arm here kind of turning green. Kind of like an alien. What are you hungry? What's wrong, dear? Not hungry this morning? And she yells, no. So, that's not good. You must eat. You're a growing girl after all. And if you don't eat, we'll have to find other ways to make sure you keep growing. And she continues to scream. No, don't. And this time, Wonder Woman with a gun shows up. So she's like, Wonder Woman, no, that's not. You won't stop me so easily, Amazon. Oh, I think I will. So she kills that alien and she goes, there, my job is done here, I think. Try to stay out of trouble from now on, Vanessa. So Diana leaves and she's like, Nessie, and she's like, Mommy, help me. So what a kind of weird psychotic stuff going on here. She's like, Mommy, no, this isn't happening. I know this is happening. Someone's messing with my mind. As she runs outside. You're going to tell me who that someone is and grabs Wonder Woman, and she's like, "Insolent brat, you dare lay your hands on the princess of the Amazons? I have been patient too long." She takes out her sword. "I shall be patient no longer," and goes to hit her, but hits that tree instead. "You cannot escape me. Stand and die like a warrior." "This isn't happening," she keeps saying. But I felt it when she hit me. I can feel the brambles and the underbrush scraping at me as I run past, which means I'll almost certainly die if she manages to land a clean hit of that sword. So I've got to think. I've got to look at this logically. All this madness, all these nightmares. It's all trademark of one man, Dr. Psycho, she says, which is who apparently was over there. "He uses telepathic powers to mess with my head before." It says here, way back in Wonder Woman 54, which we haven't covered because it's not part of John Byrne's run. I think George Perez was the artist and the writer during that time. He used me as a mental conduit to turn everybody against Wonder Woman. Diana had to use her magic lasso to compel me to see what was happening, and that's got to be the answer. What a freakish world John Byrne is drawing here. Psycho's power is great, but it can't overpower truth. I know this isn't the real Diana. She would never behave like this, so I have to reach down into my mind and push out everything that isn't real. I have to block whatever Psycho is doing, if it is Psycho, and make this Diana stop being what he wants her to be, and make her instead be everything the real Diana would be. The only problem is, if I'm guessing wrong here, this is a really good way to get killed. And so she closes her eyes, and we hear, Vanessa, you are right." So it looks like it worked. She turned her into the good Wonder Woman. So what has been happening? How did you get here? Don't ask questions, Diana. Just know that it's all over. It's okay now. And so she finally wakes up. I'm back in my own bed. And yes, not just another dream within a dream this time. I know it. I can feel it. So, but there's one way to be sure. "Morning, honey. Want some bacon and eggs?" says the mom. "Oh, yes, that sounds like the most delicious thing in the world, Mommy." "Well, Diana, I think you'd be proud of me if you knew what I'd accomplished. Only question is, I wonder if breaking his hold on me had any effect on Psycho himself," she asks. So, now we're in an epilogue, 75 miles away. And so, we hear someone say, "Over here. He's right here. Son of a gun, he didn't get out after all. No, and it doesn't look like he'll be going anywhere for a long time. Completely catatonic. That same condition he faked before? How do we know he's not faking it now?" He says, "I suppose we don't. Except as far as I knew, he'd made a clean getaway. What would be the purpose of creating an illusion like this?" So, somehow I don't find that reasoning altogether soothing. Still, until such a time as we know anything else. Yes, Wilson, take him back to his cell. Obviously, something obviously happened here. Sooner or later, I suppose we'll find out what it was. And so, not quite meanwhile. And so now we're in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And we're in this clinic here, a free clinic, it says here. Again, background for John Byrne. Kudos. He doesn't skimp on them. Look at this. Oh, just awesome. So here, off panel, we hear this doctor say, "I've never seen anything like that. It's been about 2 years since you first noticed this condition," she asked. "Yes, it began as stiffness in my joints. And now there is this generalized hardening of the skin tissues. I wonder if perhaps I had contracted some disease for which my immune system has no defense. I am only recently arrived in this country," she says. "Yes, I notice the accent Greek, isn't it? But no, to answer your question, I don't think this is some bug you picked up. In fact, if it weren't for the fact that such a thing is flat out impossible, real quick, look at this shirt and look at how he just continues. He's putting up just amazing stuff. He's straight line, just so cool. I'd almost say that your whole body's turning to clay, which of course we know how Diana was formed. So here we go. We go to the end of our issue here, and here are the credits with John Byrne as a writer, artist, and letterer. So the whole thing is he is a master storyteller, absolutely incredible. I just can't say enough good things about John Byrne. So we are continuing with John Byrne's run on Wonder Woman. This era of the early to late 90s is my favorite John Byrne era of all time. He is quite the ink slinger. I do have a playlist. So Wonder Woman 115 from 1996 is what we're looking at. I started with issue 101, which is his first issue. And so, great cover by Byrne. I love his how he put his signature, and love the ominous. One of the things I just enjoy is his, like I said, is how much black he is putting in on this this work on his Wonder Woman run. So DC's notorious for using fictitious cities, so Gateway City, which I think is supposed to be like San Francisco. So we've got a museum here, and we got this poor guy who should have retired a long time ago, but he's still working because San Francisco is expensive. Although it's expensive everywhere, San Francisco is even more expensive. So Bert Keppelhofer. One of the things I like about, or that I find funny about John Byrne, is when he left X-Men because Chris Claremont is too verbose, he said, and yet John Byrne is even as verbose. I won't say more verbose, but he's as verbose. So, Bert Koppelhofer walks the long, slow circuit he has traversed some 5,000 or 6,000 times in the last 2 decades. Tonight, he will complete the path for the last time. And so he catches these guys here, all in black. And he says, "What are you doing?" And then they hit him with some kind of ray. He's like, "Ugh," and then they shatter him. And this guy says, "Gather the fragments. Hurry, we must be done before sunrise." So, poor Bert. And we get this incredible splash page. God, this is, like I keep saying, this is my favorite version of Byrne. I know a lot of people like the early version, the X-Men version, perhaps the Superman version. He started experimenting with Namor, and I think Namor, after he left and went back to Marvel, I think that Namor period gave way to this, which I find to be his most complete, his most full, to me, his most beautifully he is hitting at his peak. This is his zenith of his work, is this 1990s era. Like I said, early 90s to late 90s, that included Next Men that is in there. This is after Next Men. He just, this ink slinger, this creative force that is John Byrne. Just wow. So, all right. So this got part of Gateway City Police Department. Wonder Woman saying, "Be careful, champion. We must stop this machine without harming the occupants or the onlookers." So you can see here, John Byrne, man, oh man, he does not waste space. He puts in work. This is Hercules, by the way, although he's calling himself the champion. And these are pants, and these are like, goodness gracious. I forgot what style of pants he is, but these are like long pockets, so they're if anybody knows, you can put it in the comments below. But I don't know what these kind of pants are, but that's what they are. And so Hercules, although he's calling himself the champion, says, "Bah! The rabble came to rob the food warehouse, just as did the miscreants with the machine. Let them pay the price for such actions." So, by the way, it's been 2 days after what happened. Here, you can see here they missed. This is early computer stuff, and you can see that right between the men who moved the world and that, oh, they left the part that they didn't, what would you say, filtered. So, all right, Wonder Woman says, Ordinarily, I might agree with you, champion, but after the last few days, these mortals are deserving of a little slack." And so, here he he is Herald Champion, erstwhile billionaire, rescue, now gaining a widening reputation as the Superman who calls himself champion. Slang does not fall easily from your lips, Princess. I suggest you avoid it. And so, it is a Mark IV Metropolitan Pacification prototype stolen from the police testing grounds 26 hours ago, and containing 3 frightened humans whose sanity has been stretched to the breaking point and beyond. So we got a person here, a person here, and a person here. So, all right, strike left, champion. That side is weakest, says Wonder Woman, and you can see here. God, I love, part of the reason I choose to use digital, I have all these issues. It's again, look, I'm able to, unlike other places that'll just show you the whole comic book and you can't, this digital allows you to really look at it. So, all right, so Wonder Woman thinks here, once more he makes a cryptic reference to his past. And so sorry, I didn't read this part. Anyway, he had said, "I can see that for myself, woman. I was fighting monsters such as this before you were called forth from the lifeless clay of Paradise Island." So again, this is Hercules, but she doesn't know it yet. He's different. So she says, "Who is this man who calls himself champion? And Aphrodite guide me. Why do I find myself drawn to him?" So there goes that vehicle. And she breaks it in half. Wonder Woman is so cool. I think John Byrne should have stayed in there forever. Although Brian Azzarello and Cliff Chiang did a great job on the Rebirth. Or no, New 52. So he is brash, arrogant, more than a little conceited, she thinks. Yet I find my heart beating faster and my mouth becoming dry each time I see him. There the monster is defeated, and these inconsequential lives are spared, says Champion. And Wonder Woman says, "No life is inconsequential, Champion. If you would fight at my side, you must learn that simple fact." And he's like, I had thought you to be trained as a warrior, Diana. Such pretty speeches are more the province of diplomats. And so Mike, is it Scar? We'll see here. Wow, that was great, Diana, he says. "Yes, once again, Diana and I have saved your little city and your lives. Hey, listen, Harold, the GCPD was doing just fine for itself before you came along." And Champion laughs. "Ha, I've seen precious little evidence of that. And now, before I take my leave," and he grabs Wonder Woman's arm and kisses her, "I claim a suitable reward for my efforts." And she's like, "Champion, no." So, look at this dude here, like, woo. And of course, Mike is like disgusted by this beautiful panel here by Byrne. There's a YouTube video of him sketching a drawing a Cyclops, and he just lightly rendered it and just went off it directly with the marker. He says he normally just does a little bit and then goes straight to ink. So a lot of this, I would love to see the originals because wow, look at this. I love the inking that he's doing with that. And you can see the guys are nobody's paying attention to them. They can make their way out. And she's like, no. As you can see, she's angry about that. She's like, oh. Real quick, it's kind of funny that he adds so much details, but this lasso, it's just so funny. It's the simplest thing, just the line and those little things, but it's so effective. Until we meet again, Wonder Woman. And she's like, oh, she's all smitten. Diana, and then you can see her eyes. And he's like, Mike, Diana, what's wrong with you? He says. So Mike has a bit of a crush on Wonder Woman, but of course, who wouldn't? And she's like, nothing. I must also take my leave. Please attend to the captives as necessary as she flies out. What the heck was that all about? So I thought Wonder Woman was with you. So they're saying, because he kind of was looking at a relationship with her. So Mike goes in and they're like, what? Oh, sorry, he goes, Harold Champion, and they're like, what? Harold Champion, I want to know everything we got on him now. Yes, sir, but this may take a while. Things are still messed up from that freeze. And so, no rap sheet, but we do have an extensive I can't say that word. Dossier. He is a multi-billionaire, made all kinds of contributions to police charities over the years. First came to Gateway City in, that can't be right. Well, according to this, Harold Champion first came to Gateway City at the end of World War II when he was 44 years old. So on this panel, since the 80s, John Byrne has been dabbling with digital. These are digital drawings, not on Photoshop. I think he was using a Mac Pro or something like that. It was one of the first early versions before. I mean, Photoshop was out by then. Perhaps it is Photoshop, but it is not the Photoshop that you're used to now. And John Byrne, like I said, since at least the late 80s, has been dabbling with digital. So he's not exactly a novice, even though this does look crude. This is John Byrne himself doing this panel up here. So so we continue from the last time when they said he was in the 40s, and Mike says he sure doesn't look like he's in his 90s. And so here he says, well, did all go according to your plan? The tone of irony fairly drips from your voice, old friend. The recent madness delayed my plan, but yes, the potion worked as you promised me it would. You have known me long enough to recognize the tiniest change of inflection in my voice. It is true, and I could say the same for you. This is not going at all as you wished it. Nonsense. The woman is falling under my spell. In a matter of days, a week or two at most, her legendary iron will be dissolved, and my vengeance will begin its final phase. And he sighs here and says, and I had hoped such thoughts long since set aside. Did you not say yourself that you had made peace with this ancient pain? And he says, I believe that to be the case. It proved to be not. Now leave me be. There's much I need to think about. And Wonder Woman, too much. Again, John Byrne here doing this in that mid-90s digital Photoshop-ish. I don't know whether or not it's Photoshop. I don't know what he's doing here, but this is Byrne himself. Like I said, he dabbles, as you know, if you've been watching all the videos since 101. He doesn't do this very much, so this man doesn't take shortcuts. So when he's doing this for artistic for an artistic thing. He's not doing it just, to save. Because I bet you this took longer to do than if he just goes bat 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 like he does with most of his backgrounds. So, and again, John Byrne here and here. So with that digital thing. So Wonder Woman flies. Oh, by the way, it just looks so cool with her cartoony here and that background. So, as if this terrible business of the Sun Eater were not enough to tax even the strongest among us to the limits, this is all so sudden, so overwhelming. I am a princess of the Amazons, and I have been trained since childhood to control my emotions, to be master of my mind and heart. Now a single stolen kiss, and I feel as though it will take every ounce of my resolve to stop me from hurling myself into Champion's arms the next time we meet. Worse, I find myself longing for that meeting, craving Champion's touch as a starving man craves for food as she's going down. I love how powerful she is. Wonder Woman is perhaps even stronger than Superman. I think Wonder Woman is DC's strongest of its heroes. I'm not going to say strongest character, because I do believe Doomsday is pretty strong, and I don't know about Darkseid, but Wonder Woman can go toe to toe with absolutely anyone. So we continue here, and she walks in, and so perhaps Helena Sandsmark is more familiar with these matters than I, if she could advise me. And so she's yelling at her people here. I don't want excuses. I know the last few days have been horrible. We have to put our lives back on track now. And somebody broke the seals on those sarcophagi. I want to know who. So everyone's like, what? And she says, is there some problem, Helena? Oh, good morning. Yes, there is a problem. I'm cursed with an incompetent staff that won't even admit to its failings. And this guy here says, that's not fair, Professor. If one of us had broken the seals, we'd fess up, but none of us did. Don't insult my intelligence, Byrne. I may be the youngest person to ever hold this position, but I'm far from the stupidest. One of those seals might have cracked and fallen off all by itself, given the age of the sarcophagi, but the terrible cold, but not all three. So, what are these things, Helena? We're not sure, Diana. They were found in crates in the museum's attic about 3 months ago. As near as we can tell, they've been up there since the museum building was completed back in 1884. We brought them down to examine them, and this morning we found the seals broken, says the other guy. And you think the ancient seals might have crumbled when exposed to the freezing effects of the Sun Eater's presence, says Diana. That's one unlikely explanation, Diana. At least the cold may have served to reduce any damage that might have been done to the contents by any air leaks. And this woman comes in and says, Professor Sandmark, there's an urgent call for you. And she says, take a message, can you, Jenna? I'm right in the middle of something. And she says, but it's Bert Keppelhofer's wife, Professor. She's absolutely frantic. And she says, oh, very well, I'll speak to her. Diana, have a look at those seals, would you? Maybe your years as a crime fighter will tell you something. And Wonder Woman says, I'll be glad to look at it, Helena. But for something approximating detective work, you might be better served by someone like the Batman. And this guy's like, Batman, you know him? Don't you, Wonder Woman? So, please, call me Diana. Do you have a magnifying lens handy? And the guy's like, right here. My eyes did not deceive me. Some of the remaining fragments of the seal show clear indication of having bent outwards. Whoever broke these seals did so from the inside. And she says, wait, don't. And they're like, holy, there's nothing there. Not quite nothing. Observe the interior walls of the coffin. It can't be. It can't be. That looks like printed circuitry. Circuitry? In a sarcophagus that looks at least 3,000 years old? Yes, unlikely. And yet, Zeus, what on earth was that? After you hear that eek. So someone was screaming. So that's awesome. You know, there are just not too very many writer artists out there anymore. You've got John Byrne, and he's been around forever. You got Walter Simonson, and that's about it. Not very many um, writer penciler out there. For the most part, you know, even people have been drawing a long time, like John Romita Jr. has never really gone into writing. Dave Gibbons has done some writing. However, I don't think he's ever drawn anything he writes. He writes for other people. He's never uh, written anything. And Alan Davis tried it for a while. There was a period of time where he was writer and artist in the late 90s. I think he had a Wolverine graphic novel that he did. He took over X-Men. He took over Excalibur as writer penciler. And he's dabbled here and there. So I'll give him credit. So we got Alan Davis. That's 3. Is there anybody else? I mean, Jack Kirby did it in the 70s, but I never really considered Jack Kirby a writer. Heck of a plotter, though. Gosh, I don't think anybody really writes anymore. Um, and Todd McFarlane. I love Todd McFarlane. I love his art. He's a terrible writer. I'm just going to say that. So, all right. So Wonder Woman goes in and says, "What happened?" And this person goes, "Wonder Woman." And she says, "There under 4, under that case, Hera and Athena. That looks like a finger. Human form from the look of it. But I thought there was something odd about it." The guy's examining it now. So we're kind of moving. And I've examined some pretty grisly remains in my ears with this department, but I've never seen anything like this. What is it, Morris? It's edges of the specimen, Mike. They don't look cut or torn. If I didn't know any better, in fact, I'd be inclined to say they look broken. And so now we're in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge, which is a big city, but it's acting like this is in the country somewhere. So. All right, so this is what I mean about Byrne. This guy gives you a perfect construction to let you know. I mean, he could easily have designed this in such a way that he didn't have to draw all these things, but he did. So, I mean, so this lady here says, use the terrible, oh, sorry. You've got to do something, Polly. You use the terrible things happening in the last week as an excuse to put this off. But now you've got to get yourself to a hospital. And so Polly here says, and how would I afford such a treatment, Beulah? Even were I prepared to submit to it. And this other one says, there's more going on than just some unexplained illness, isn't there, Polly? You know I'm sensitive about such things. And Polly interrupts and says, I know, Angelica, you have the gift of seeing, untrained and undeveloped, but nonetheless powerful. And I've known there was more to you than you were willing to let on since old Ephraim brought you here from the mission and asked Mama to give you a place to sleep. And so Polly says, you have shown me real kindness, all of you, and I have repaid you with secrecy and evasion. For that I'm truly sorry. If you wish, I will depart now and trouble you no further with my problems. And so the old lady says, now you just hush that talk right now, Polly. What kind of Christian house would this be if... Oh. And as he touches her, and the other girl says, Mama, what is it? And you can see Polly looks all sad. Polly, your shoulder, it's like touching a piece of stone. Yes, I have already lost most of the feeling in that arm and my legs below the knees. The malady is progressing rapidly. At least that seems to be the case, since I have no previous experience of this condition. It is quite possible it is moving with merciful slowness. So she opens that window. My greatest fear now is for my sisters who might likewise be affected. and for the daughter who I fear cannot warn of this impending doom. So this appears to be Hippolyta, Wonder Woman's mother. So back at that museum here, man, I never knew how spooky this place could be at night, Diana. And Wonder Woman's Wonder Woman says, I have seen so many strange things since I left Themyscira. It is something hard for me to remember what is unsettling to others. And Mike says, I'm beginning to think that this is some kind of wild goose chase. Anyway, Diana, Morris must have messed up his DNA charts or something. That couldn't have really been a human finger. And here above, you can see these creatures looking. Perhaps not, but it troubles me that it should have been discovered in one of the rooms the now missing Bert Keppelhofer would have patrolled on his nightly rounds. Wouldn't they just have said the night guard or something? And so the guy here with the horn says, who are they? I guess the goat guy. And this here, would this be the mouse? Whoever they are of no consequence. And so we've lost enough time while this planet froze. We can brook no further delay. 40,000 years has been more than enough. And so you can see here, they go to shoot him, and she's like, down. Holy cow, some kind of freezing ray. It's not starting all over again. So I forgot to mention that event, it's not something that we've covered. They're talking about Final Night, which was a 4-issue limited series by Carl Story, I think, and Carl Kiesel, and Stuart Immonen. It was a 4-issue limited series, kind of like a crossover event. And so that is where that freeze is. It's nothing that we missed in Wonder Woman. So, all right. And Wonder Woman jumps up and says, no, this is something new and different. Zeus, men in animal masks. And the goat guy says, no, stop her. And the rat guy says, she's too swift for me to aim properly, as he misses. And so she punches the... Well, is that a rat? I think it's a rat. What language are they speaking? It is like none I have ever heard. And... as she punches him, that was flesh and bone I struck. They're not wearing masks. So the goat guy is getting away. Not so fast, my friend. There are questions you must... And suddenly she's like, no, another earthquake. So John Byrne's illustrating the earthquake by just kind of shifting the panel here. To the roof, Bass has given us a chance to make our escape. So, but at what cost? He does not know the precise formula for triggering the tectonic effect. And the goat guy says, unimportant. At this stage, only when we begin in earnest will precise manipulation be necessary. And so... they go up here and hurry, the one called Wonder Woman is right behind us. And so they form this jet thing and take off, and Wonder Woman is going after them. Swift your strange craft may be, but not so fleet as to elude one who possesses the speed of Hermes. That would be Mercury for you Roman people. So... where, as that ship also goes invisible. Diana, listen to this. Mulligan, say again. What? I said the reports are flashing in from all over the country. The planet shifted nearly a mile. The whole crust of the Earth just rotated. As it did the other day, I had very nearly forgotten, confronted as I was with the problem of the Sun Eater and its own global effects. How the heck can something like this happen? I do not know, but I have the disturbing feeling those three strangers had something to do with it. So I love this, a reverse silhouette with the black at top and white on the bottom. So 8,500 miles south of Gateway City. Kick it in. So would this be Antarctica most likely? And so, if you say so, it's worse than expected. They never had a chance with their environmental control systems already taxed to its maximum, keeping out the Antarctic cold. Oh, poor people froze to death. The events of the last week would have left them no hope of survival at all. Will the bodies be safe just covered with ice blocks like that? Yes, Bulldozer, there is no predators in Antarctica. They'll be fine until we can retrieve them for transport back to the States. And now I guess we better get a move on it. Yes, the seismologic concentricity patterns put the center of the disturbance in the crust almost directly below us. By the way, if the Earth were to shift like that, it's the end of everything. The tsunamis, the places that would fall into it just would be catastrophic. But it's comics, so love John Byrne using some dry brush right here. Oh, just beautiful. So these three here go. I sure hope the modifications you made to the mole will do the trick. Cave, you were not, you were a bit rushed and there was no time for a test run. And so, Cave says, I'm pretty sure we'll be okay, Bull. Christy, monitor the systems at all times. If you see any hint of leakage, and she says, I'm on it, Cave. So Cave, Bull, and Christy. Christy doesn't get a code name. So then stand by. We haven't seen any real action in quite some time. And so down they go. And I have a nasty feeling this may be the greatest danger we've faced in all adventures inside the Earth. So we're continuing our run of John Byrne through his Wonder Woman. I started with 101. I do have a playlist. We are now at 116. We're about halfway through his run. Cover here. This is from 1996. Awesome. One of the things I like about John Byrne during this time is his ink slinging. Look at all this. He is drawing himself. He has no inker, just blotchiness, and I just love it. You can just see a little bit of a dry brush he's using here. John Byrne works traditional. I mean, just beautiful, beautiful. I really do love this style. I know comic books nowadays are all pretty and I don't know, Photoshop, and everybody works digital, but to me, traditional is just, there's a beauty to it. Yes, there is computer coloring and computer, but the I don't know, the method is still John Byrne. Man, it just looks beautiful. So, The Men Who Moved the World, Part 2. So, I still don't get it, and we got our credits here. John Byrne is basically doing everything except the colors. He's lettering this himself. I believe he uses a program for lettering. I don't think he's actually physically lettering. I do believe he's lettering on a computer even. Yes, back in 1996. And so we're having, like, I believe we're going to have one story at the top and one story at the bottom. But we'll see here. I haven't read these issues in for friggin' ever. So I actually get excited because I sort of read them with you for the first time in years. So we're starting to overheat, Cave. And so in that plane, we have Wonder Woman here. We have oh my God, the guy that likes her, the police officer. This is Hercules, but he's going by a code name of the Champion. So he's going by Harold Champion, billionaire industrialist and superhero. But this is Hercules, or Heracles as he would be in Greek. Why involve this guy, Diana? You could fly to London under your own power. You don't need to hitch a ride with him. And so she says, true, Mike, but I could not carry both you and Helena in any sort of comfort. And Champion is like, which begs the larger question, why are you here, little man? I love that. I love that phrase, little man. It's so used in in the X-Men. Chris Claremont used to do. Another thing that I love is the spotting of all blacks. If you can see here, there's no gap being used right here. Traditionally, you want to leave a little gap here so you can see where this is one leg, and but nope, Byrne is like black, 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 black. Oh, just beautiful. So, um, Professor Sandsmark, I can understand since she is director of the Gateway City Museum of Cultural Antiquities and is pursuing the matter of a theft from her museum. And so, Mike, is it school, shore, score? We'll get to it, I'm sure. Which is what I'm doing, champion. I'm a cop, remember? And so we do have a second then story behind, and this is sort of how our last issue had ended here. This new system I jury rigged is having trouble dissipating the steam generated by the boring through the Antarctic ice. The mole machine was designed and built to cut through rock and soil. How much further do you figure we have to go, Cave? According to my instruments, we're over 1.5 miles down. And they say here, so this is another person here talking. The ice cap is much more than 2 miles thick at this point, Bulldozer. I wish we could have found a thinner slice for this main run, but all my readings indicate that the center of the worldwide seismic disturbance is right below us. And so back to the other. Again, this is what I mean about the ink slinging. Just beautiful, just whatever, just make marks and be done with it, and just nice. John Byrne, what a master. I'm covering his run on X-Men as well, and his run with Chris Claremont on Marvel. Oh my God, Marvel Team Up. And it just coincided. I'm actually covering all of the X-Men. I have a playlist. Feel free to check that out. So we continue here with Champion here. A cop whose jurisdiction hardly extends across a continent and an ocean. And so Helena says, what I still don't understand is why you're so convinced the theft of that ancient shield is somehow connected to these recent global earthquakes. And Wonder Woman says, call it a hunch, Helena. That shield, which I'm now convinced is not merely a shield, was stolen by the 3 animal-headed creatures who invaded the museum last night. As I mentioned, I have a playlist that was covered last issue. And who I am likewise convinced spent the last 3,000 years inside these recently discovered sarcophagi. As near as we can tell, Helena now continues here, these have been stored in the museum attic since the building was completed in 1884. Now the seals have been broken on them, and no one in my staff will admit to being responsible. So, that was, I am so sorry. Yeah, that was from the previous issue, and then we're getting a bit of a recap here. And so, all right. Basically, Wonder Woman says that the seals were broken from the inside, and then this guy's like, "Wait, don't open it." So here, Christy, see if you can vent the excess heat through the LDDs. That would be lateral displacement ducts. Those can handle the heat of molten lava, which is 1,000 times hotter than the steam we're generating. I'll try, Cave, but to access the ducts, I'll have to shunt the steam through. And then she's like, uh-oh, and you can see here, her computer is about to take a crap here. She must be using Windows, so. And this guy here yells her name. And so. And for some reason, John Byrne is just using a lot up for this recap here. And so we're back to our other story. She's hurt, Cave. We've got her out of the mole into safety. And Cave says, "We're way past the point of no return now, Bull. We can't turn back. We can only push forward and pray we come out of the ice before we're all done for." So, and again, we are going through last issue here, and I'm just surprised Byrne didn't do this in just a page, and he is taking so much of it. So I wondered if he just didn't have much to go on for this issue. So we made it, and then all of a sudden that vehicle collapses down. And so again, still a recap here. And then it hits this thing, and you see the crash here. I don't believe it. We survived the fall. Maybe the papers are right. Maybe you do have 9 lives, Cave. And so we continue here with the narration of what happened in the previous issue. Love the Invisible Jet as drawn by Byrne here. God, what a master storyteller. And the fact that he just used the entire panel, I'm beginning to think he probably didn't have much for this. So then why not focus on the story below if he didn't have much? So so this guy goes, "Christy first. I have a better idea how bad she's hurt. Now for," and he turns back. So Byrne continuing the recap, and then we get back to the present here. The plane and its 3 occupants had simply faded into invisibility. That might have been the last time we knew of them had Helena not made a discovery of her own. Yes, but it's a discovery that makes no sense to me. Why would these animal-headed creatures break into the museum and steal an old shield, she asks. And this guy here yells "Cave" as the vehicle has exploded. So Wonder Woman says, "I cannot say, but it is the only clue we have since I saw that shield in the arms of one of the intruders as he boarded the strange aircraft." So, and then Champion, by the way, these are the type of pants that he's wearing. So when you see, I don't know what these type of pants are called, but these are pockets that you see here. So anyway, Hercules or Champion, whichever, says, "But you have said you are not even sure it is a shield, Professor Sandsmark." And Helena says, "No, I'm not. We called it that because there seemed no other use for it. A golden disc with no markings, but a perfectly circular hole in the center." And Mike says, "And it was one of 2, you said." So, yes, the pair were part of a find made in a joint expedition staged by by us and the British Museum of Antiquities back in the 1920s, which is why we're on our way to London in this amazing plane of yours, Mr. Champion. There's a chance the intruders may strike there next. Yes, says Wonder Woman. And if they do, I mean to be ready for them. And so, 2 a.m. and no sign of anything or anyone here. And so we have John Byrne in this beautiful vertical panel. Look at this. He just puts a corner, puts Big Ben there, the guard. Oh, what a storyteller he is. And so it looks like Cave is done. So Bull and Christy. How come she doesn't get a code name? Too hot. I can't. And so Christy calls out for him. "Christy, you're okay?" "I am. I sure don't feel okay. What happened to the mole? Where's Cave?" He went ahead and to scout around. We've got to find a way out of here that won't need the mole. I'm afraid the old girl is done for." So he's not telling her. And so Mike says, and this place is even spookier than the museum in Gateway City. And Champion says, "Ha! When you have seen what I have seen, there is precious little man can make, which is the least bit frightening." Okay, that. Sorry, I screwed up kind of how I was reading it. And Mike continues here. Diana said something similar, Harold, but I guess she's seen a whole lot more than you. And Champion says unlikely. Again, of course, he's Hercules. So Wonder Woman's like thinking here. Again, he makes a cryptic reference hinting at so much that remains unsaid. So she does not know that he is Hercules. She doesn't recognize him. So back to the other story. We better not go too far, Bull. This place looks to be a veritable maze of tunnels. Kane won't be able to find us when he comes back if look at these walls, Christy. That's no natural formation. These tunnels were cut out into the rock. You're right, Bull. And by something at least as efficient as the cutting torch on the mole. And look here, there's some kind of delicate tracery in the stones, almost like writing. So, I know that there's a fire, but probably not bright enough for to view all this. So, and so Bull says, "Huh, that looks like an Egyptian hieroglyphs." And so now again we're back to the London. I love how John Byrne, he draws everything, but look how simple he draws the lasso. Just little rope, and then I mean, what a master he is. Just creates and just with the simplicity. So and so Mike says, maybe you'd like to tell us a little something about what you've been up to, Harold. Like, for instance, how you can look quite so healthy when you're pushing 100. And Champion says, I see no reason for you to be made privy to any of my secrets, little man. It is sufficient that you... I love it. He keeps calling him little man. And Wonder Woman's like, listen. And of course, here we have those creatures, which we see on the other side. So she jumps up there and says, there, it is the same three who robbed the Gateway Museum. And one of them yells at the one, is he a cat? Cat, mouse, ram? Wonder Woman, I warned you we should have delayed. We should have delayed our attempts to retrieve the disc. Oh, so she's talking to them. I'm sorry. I thought he was talking to Wonder Woman. So, all right. Back here. And Christine says, not quite hieroglyphics. Sorry. There was a period there. I didn't see it. Not quite. Hieroglyphics are something I made a study of when I was in college. I did my master thesis on the stone cutting skills of the ancient Egyptians. But you're right. Though, there's something in this faded script that almost echoes the writing of the pharaohs, as if this was some kind of antecedent. So, kind of coming before is what she means. And so, this one says, to the roof, we must make good on our escape. There's no time. They smashed through your ice walls with ease. So, we got Wonder Woman and Champion here. Then we must leave from here. Now, there's no reason to risk capture trying to get to the open roof. So, and so Christine continues down here. But that doesn't make any sense. What would a precursor of Egyptian hieroglyphs be doing in a tunnel under the Antarctic ice cap? You might as well ask what tunnels are doing under the... And then he stops and says, hold it. Put out that flashlight. Someone's coming through. So, oh, okay. There's a flashlight right here. So... And so, again, they're going to try to get away now in this little doohickey. Inside, quickly, yells the cat one. So, and she says, their eyes, they have no eyes. They've evolved to live down here in the darkness. but what language is it? But if they have, then number one, why are they dressed? Assuming, well, it's probably cold, but still. Um, and how do they shave? Why would they shave? Um, and they would be able to hear them too. So, um, and Christine says it can't be bull. There are no more than a dozen words of ancient Egyptian speech that we know how to pronounce, but what they're saying has the same tones and rhymes. Is some pre-Egyptian civilization? Do you understand anything of what they're saying? He asked. By the way, they're whispering. That's what these are for here. And so, back to our main story. God, John Byrne is just beautiful. Just I will praise his art all the time. We will make our own escape route. So, look at this. Look, just it's beautiful. And so they're gonna follow them. No, but from the inflection, I think I can say they are not happy. More than that, in fact, I'd say they were scared. And so, Bull says, "Do you suppose they're as worried about the shifting of the Earth's crust as we are?" And she says, "Remember the way the coastline ice shelf was calving when we flew over it on the way here? It only takes a few degrees to upset the delicate balance of the environment here. If the Antarctica continent continues to be rotated northward, all the covering of ice will melt away, and these people will be exposed to the open air." So back to the main story. Wonder Woman says, not quite so fast, my strange friends. Invisibility will not serve you in a vehicle which leaves such clear indications of passage." So even though it's invisible, invisible and invincible both sound so similar. But she can of course see it. Hera, that would be the wife of Zeus. And so they continue to follow these people, which could very well be what these people are upset about. If they are upset, I could be reading them completely wrong. For all we know, they're the ones causing the shifts in the Earth's crust. Maybe they want Antarctica rotated back into the middle of the South Atlantica. Hold it. Things just got even more interesting. So, now they have a invisible rocket here. And Wonder Woman's like, "No!" And you can see it's gone again. So it's kind of still there, but it kind of goes from there to like black. Love that. Love the silhouettes of the buildings here. And so, of course, these guys are related. We're up there now here. There, after 40,000 years, the discs are ready. In a matter of hours, we can complete the correction in the orientation of Earth's crust. Landsnart will. Wait, we're no longer alone, as he sees them. And so, back now, your friends did not take kindly to being left behind in London, Princess. So, you can see here that they took off here. So Wonder Woman says, "Not surprising, despite herself, Helena was being swept up by the thrill of the hunt, while Mike's score, I say score because of school, S-C-H, so I say school. Otherwise, and it would be store, so I say score. So, Mike sees himself forced into a dereliction of duty. And so Champion says, "I think it's something more than duty which keeps him so close to your side, Diana. Tell me truthfully now, do I have him a rival for your affections?" And Wonder Woman says, "My affections are not subject to any competition, Champion. Aphrodite has not seen fit to choose a mate for me yet. When she does, that man will be me, Princess. Look into my eyes, if you dare, and tell me this is not the case," says Hercules / Champion. And so here goes Bull. They made us. No point in playing hide and seek now. And she's like, bulldozer. And so he goes through those two. I didn't understand a word you said, but I sure didn't need Christine to tell me your tone was downright nasty. And then, of course, this one's like, stop him if he damages the machine. You will have to wait for another time for your answers, champion. It seems we have arrived, says Wonder Woman. The unique energy signature of that airship terminates directly below. And then they see the tunnel. And look there. It looks for all the world as though something melted a tunnel down into the ice cap. And Champion says, our query, I'll warrant. So, of course, they see that little ship here. Not quite fast enough, doggy boy. And then he hits her with that thing, and you can see Bull yelling, no, Christy. How very considerate of them to provide an egress for us. And so Wonder Woman and Champion are going to make their way down, and they're being viewed by the people with no eyes. You cannot understand my speech, I know, but I think you can fathom my intent. And he's gonna push her and break her. No, if you push her over, she'll shatter into a million pieces, and he gives up here. So that's what he wanted. So here, Wonder Woman and Champions are in this hall here. Hera, who are those creatures? There must be 1,000 of them, human-shaped and yet clearly not human. And Champion says, I have seen nothing like them in... So, and then from behind, Champion is... they're hitting him with the ice thing, and he calls out for Wonder Woman, Diana. And so, he melts her, or warms her, or whatever. And Bull says, easy, kid. You're okay now. These creeps don't seem to want us dead just yet. And so... we are nearly ready to begin the ceremony of realignment. Take these two up to the hall of audiences. And so that is Ubis. And so I think she called him Ubis. That's one of the proto-names of the god Anubis, the jackal-headed god of death and the underworld. So, and she calls out Champion, and she holds his hand. You can see here it's going toward her. Cut the columns. Carry them to the hall of audiences. And so, holy, she has the same falcon head as the Egyptian god Horus, but Horus was a male deity. And so, it's an owl, by the way. The surface world has sent its mightiest warriors against us, and they have fallen before our might. So has it always been, so shall it always be, she says. And so, you can see them taking them there. Hurry, hurry, they are waiting. They will brook no further delay. And so we get to the last panel here. The time is at hand. Nothing can now prevent the rotation of the Earth's crust back to its true position. The great city of Lansanar shall emerge from the ice to rule the world once more. So, and so that concludes. So, Wonder Woman 117 from 1997. This is from the second volume, which was restarted with George Perez. I do have a Wonder Woman playlist. I'm doing John Byrne's run on Wonder Woman. Feel free to check that out. I started with Wonder Woman 101. So go check it out. This cover I'm not too thrilled about. So it's computer generated by John Byrne. He did this. Everything here is done by Byrne, but the cartooniness of Wonder Woman just doesn't look very, with all this computer. I don't know. To me, it doesn't work. When you're doing the analog way, which is how she's drawn, not colored, drawn. But then you also then add these things. It just, to me, this image doesn't work very much. But John Byrne did do the cover, the entire thing, even the computer generated portion of the cover is his. I love mid 90s John Byrne. He was such an ink slinger. So we're picking up right where we left off here. We get a little bit of exposition in here. But, you know, we're just basically getting caught up on everything that has been happening here. John Byrne is the writer and the artist. And so you can see here the laying of the hands here. He is also the letterer. So he does do digital lettering. However, it's his handwriting. So he enters he put in his, how he writes and then does it digitally. So I hope to after we're done with Wonder Woman, probably his She-Hulk will be the next John Byrne project. I'm going to try to keep and stay within the John Byrne family. So, all right. So, I already forgot her name here. Oh, goodness gracious. I think her name is Christina or Christy, and she's the only one without a nickname here. So this is Bulldozer here, the big guy. And she goes, Bulldozer, that's Wonder Woman. And Bulldozer says, but who's the guy with her? He's big enough to be Superman, but I don't recognize him, he says. And so, this creature here says, the long wait is ended, people of Lansinar. The Wanderers have returned to us, and with them they have brought the two discs we feared forever lost. Now the ceremony of realignment can commence, and Lansinar can be freed, she says. So if I remember, I think this is Oris. So anyway, Christine continues here. We're in a mess, Bulldozer. The language that Falcon Woman is speaking is distant relative to ancient Egypt, and while I don't understand her, there's no mistaking the tone. Cave better have gone for the cavalry, or we'll never get out of here, she says. You're right, says Bulldozer out loud, but then we get some introspective here by his thoughts. I've got to let Christine have that false hope right up to the end. I can't tell her the truth that Cave Carson is dead. So, Bull, this setup has to be connected to the worldwide earthquakes we came down here to investigate. Back at the Carson Subterranean Institute, we'd trace the center of the seismic disturbances to something in this area. It's too much of a coincidence that this civilization could be right in the middle of it, and yet unconnected. And Bulldozer says, you're right, the whole crust of the earth has been rotating, bringing the Antarctic continent northward by more than a mile so far. It seems insane, but I'm starting to think this city got built when Antarctica was hundreds of miles further north and there was no ice. You hit the nail in the head, Bulldozer. And then this is Cave. There's a hypothesis in the whole interlocking plate structure of the Earth's surface that may have shifted in one piece at a certain time in prehistory. I'm thinking this civilization is proof of that particular pudding. And so, Cave continues. It's lucky I was able to pull myself away from the burning mole while Bull and Christie, while Bull got Christie to safety. Unfortunately, I was so groggy from the impact of the mole's crash that I was knocked out by the concussion from the blast. When I came to, Bull and Christie were gone, and I had no idea where. Luckily, I still had my full kit in my belt pouches, so I was able to explore. So John Byrne is sort of filling the gaps that we had missed. So Cave continues here. Now I better see what I can do about rescuing Bull, Christie, Wonder Woman and that mystery man. It's not going to be easy. One against thousands of, he says as these hands kind of start. No, they snuck up on me without my even knowing they were there. So much for my heroic attempts. And so we now see here, release the frozen ones, says the owl lady. I think it was Oris. It's good that they should be witnesses to the restoration of our former glory, since they will be the first of their inferior race to be enslaved. So we've got Wonder Woman, and then the person that they were referring to is Hercules, who is, I think he's going by Champion, and she does not know that, I believe she does not know that it's Hercules. And so these creatures here says, a word of caution, Oris. The female is more powerful than any of her species. Twice she came close to capturing us three. Yes, she is known as Wonder Woman, an apt title given in a world, even in a world given to excessive hyperbole. And so Oris says, fools, you have been so long away from Lancenar, you have forgotten. There is no creature in all the world that is a threat to us. Of course, Oris, you are right, but we have seen what the female can do. You have not. We simply counsel caution. So Christy says, I wish I could get more than one word in 100 of what they're saying. They mean to do something to Wonder Woman and that guy, but I have no idea what. And Bulldozer says, if they just release them from the ice, I'll bet Wonder Woman would sort them out pretty fast. And then just like that, oh, what happened? Wonder Woman says. And I think, is that Christie that it's pointing to? Oh my gosh, that was ancient Greece. Sure, that's the language Wonder Woman speaks normally, says Bulldozer. It cannot be. She spoke the accursed tongue. So it looks like they got her down. We will not let this creature live long enough to witness the rebirth of our ancient glory. In the name of all that was and all that ever shall be, I will send her back to Hades whence she came. And off panel, I think not. And Hercules, or Champion, however you want to call him, goes through. John Byrne doesn't mess with the ink. It's all black here. You can see that, and then your mind sort of fills in the spots here. It's been a long time since I last set eyes on the three of you, he says, and then it was to see you sealed forever beneath the desert sands. And this guy here goes, another one. Are all these intruders scions of our ancient enemies? And Christy goes, hey, the big guy speaking ancient Greek too. And Oris says, stop this at once. There is never to be a battle in the Hall of Audiences. And she sends an energy beam to Hercules here. The power of my staff will strip you of all your strength, whoever you are. Now deal with the woman, she says. Where is she? Asked the right guy. I forgot their names, so you'll have to forgive me. John Byrne is just not doing a very good job in giving everybody's names here, so. And Wonder Woman says, if you are looking for me, my strange friends, I am here, and your prizes are now mine, she says. For all the things that I love about John Byrne, the lasso has to be the one I love the most. Just the simple line, and then the glow of the thing. That way he doesn't have to. It's easier. So. And so one of them says, It will do you no good to seize those discs, Wonder Woman. You have not the knowledge to put them to proper use. And suddenly Wonder Woman goes, you speak the language of Themyscira, the language of ancient Greece. We do, though we curse each syllable that passes our lips, says the other guy. And so she goes, I think some answers would be well in order at this point. Who are you, and what is this place, and what is your purpose? And this guy says, "We are the last warriors of Lancenar. Ours is a race older than the oldest memory of your misbegotten people." And so, 40,000 years ago, this city and the continent for which it stands lay further north as you measure the shape of the world. Here, a great and powerful civilization rose, the growing glory of centuries of art and science. All four ruled here as absolute masters of all we surveyed. Made immortal by our science, we set out to carve a global empire from the savage lands beyond Lancenar. Then there came a day unequaled for all the horror it unleashed upon the world. The great towers of Lancenar shook as the very crust of the earth shifted, turning one hemisphere south and the other north. That would have been more than 40,000 years ago, but hey. Within a matter of weeks, we understood the full import of what had happened, as well as the first time snow fell on the towers of Lancenar. We discovered that the turning of the crust had been caused by one of our own scientists working to explore a theory of plate tectonics he had developed. He had no idea his machine would do what it did, nor did he have a way to reverse that effect. It seemed that Lancenar, with all her gifts and glory, was doomed to vanish for all times beneath the snows which never ceased to fall. Knowing the war against the eternal winter would consume much time and resources, we instructed our subjects to take whatever measures necessary to preserve Lancenar, while we four took on the forms of wild beasts, such as we knew would strike fear into the hearts of the primitives who lived beyond our shores, and set out in search of a place we could accelerate technological development and find a way to save our home. You know, most people would just move, period. So, after more than 2 centuries of searching, we chanced upon a land of scorching sands and quick-witted people. We were brought before their leaders, being of strange power and dignity. We sensed at once that there was in them something more than human. So, naturally, they recognized us as something far superior to their narrow experience. The combinations of their powers and our inseparable intellects was great indeed. In the span of a dozen generations, we brought them to the very pinnacle of their achievements. Under our directions, we were able to reach a level where they could create a solution to the doom which threatened Lancenar. 3 discs, each possessed of great power, which when attached to the devices here, would serve to reverse the rotation and restore Lancenar to her proper place. So, all was perfect. We were in the final days of preparations to return to Lancenar when, of course, the Greeks attacked. At first, we saw the invasion of this primitives as no more than a momentary delay. Their swords and leather armor were no match for our weapons and the powers of the gods we had elevated. We had not guessed that unknown energies which had spawned the powers of our pupils might have created others with similar powers elsewhere in the world. So that would be the Greek gods. Incredibly, these invaders proved too much for us. So the Greek gods versus the Egyptian gods. Taking the precious disc, we attempted to flee the embattled city. Only 3 of us were successful, so it looks like they lost one. It was decided that Horus would return to Lancenar to prepare devices, while we would seek a way to rescue our companion and retrieve the lost disc. Searching the northern shores of the Great Sea, we found another advanced civilization. So that would be Greece, or Mount Olympus, which unfortunately proved to be under the control of a race of gods who bore a startling resemblance to our enemies. Tell you what, this Zeus looks better than the Marvel Zeus. So, we do not know to this day if they were different beings or merely different guises worn by the same so-called gods. So again, we haven't really had a name introduction. We have had them in the past, but um, John Byrne hasn't really. It goes to that whole Jim Shooter thing. It's everybody's first comic books. You got to give people the names of things. Um, so here the goat-headed one says, "We do not know that they returned us to the enslaved lands of Egypt, where we were sealed in prison caskets, conscious but unable to move." And Wonder Woman says, "The same sarcophagi in which you were brought to the gateway city, where you languished for a century in the attic of the museum." And the cat, is he a cat guy? Maybe he's of that we know nothing, but when we were released, we learned only one of the discs was near at hand. Fortunately, we had created a link between the discs. This told us the first had made its way safely back to Lansanar, and that the third was in London, where you stole it as you had the other, says Hercules. Is it theft then to reclaim what is rightfully ours? We took those discs, as we mean now, to take back Lansanar from the tomb of ice which surrounds it, which would definitely fall under the heading of theft. And so they see Cave here. "Time enough for explanations later, Bull. There's an important matter that needs to be settled here. Namely, these people don't want Lansanar freed from the ice." Cave, do you know that... Chrissy says, "Cave, how do you know that? You can't possibly understand their speech." And Cave says, "I understand just about everything right now, Christy. These people have created a kind of universal translator. I can understand them, and I can understand those animal-headed people." And Wonder Woman says, "But what do you mean about them not wanting to be freed?" And Cave says, "These folks' ancestors were left to fend for themselves, which they did by adapting to life under the ice. Of course, in 40,000 years, this has become natural to them. To remove them from this environment would be as a penguin were hurled to the Sahara Desert. Do you understand this, Oris? You have made yourselves aliens in your own homeland. There is no place for you in Lansanar as it is, and no place for the people of Lansanar anywhere else." And Oris says, "No, it is a lie." And the blind guy here says, "No, mistress, it is not. We obey you only because it is our duty to do so, though we know such obedience must lead ultimately to the destruction of all we know and cherish." And the goat guy goes, "It cannot be. All these centuries of pain and imprisonment. So just those that want to leave. I don't see the big deal." So is this the rat guy? "It must be a lie, a trick to turn us from our course." And the other guy hears, "Yet, to look upon the faces of our subjects is to look upon strangers." "If this is all true, Wonder Woman, you are known for your wisdom as much as your great powers and beauties. What can we do if all we have longed for 400 centuries is lost?" "Nothing is lost, Bast. Lansanar..." Okay, so this is Bast. All right. "Lansanar survives and has grown up and flourished even here in the darkness. It is for you now to learn the new ways to adapt yourselves to the people as they have adapted to their frozen home." So we've got this up here, and it's awesome. One long panel with Wonder Woman, and then all these things. Man, John Byrne, what a great artist, and what a great storyteller. That is awesome. And so we continue here. "It is for you to seek within your own hearts and souls a new and better path to peace and contentment." And so Cave says, "The level of technological development down here is quite remarkable, and all built in darkness and cold." And Bull says, "I'm surprised they didn't find a way to light and heat Lansanar if they were so advanced." And Cave says, "Of course, they tried that at first, but they quickly realized they would be expending huge amounts of effort and energy battling something that seemed less and less likely to ever go away. So they elected to go with the flow, as it were. They adapted themselves and their technology to the new shape of Lancinar. And speaking of adapting technology, so, oh, that looks like a Batmobile almost. The Mole Machine. But she blew up, says Christy. Indeed she did, says Cave. But all I had to do was show these people the wreckage and describe what she was built for, and they created a new, improved mole. And they did it in a matter of hours. And Champion / Hercules / Heracles, it would seem there is much to be gained from this culture, much that the surface world can use. And Wonder Woman says, except for the fact that these people wish to be left alone, Champion. I know that in your everyday life as Herald Champion, you are a multinational businessman. But this is an instance where you should look elsewhere for profit and exploitation. And he says, perhaps. So, I guess it's time to say goodbye, Wonder Woman. That was Cave. I only wish there was something that could be done about the watchman you said was killed. And Wonder Woman says, the Lancers have promised to address the matter under their own laws. We can ask for no more, she says. And this guy here says, we are grateful to you for your part in this, Princess Diana of Themyscira. We wish you to accept this as our token of our esteem. What is it, High Priestess? Whatsoever you wish it to be, Princess. So, the invisible plane. And so, Wonder Woman says, the invisible aircraft, and it can be anything else I desire. A most welcome gift, High Priest. This frees you to return to Gateway City on your own, Champion. And, of course, we know something eventually by the end of Byrne's run. Something's going to be up, so. While I return to London to retrieve Helena and Mike Score. Or Shore, but I think it's Score. Like SCH from, like, school. So, I never thought Gateway City looked so good to me. So, again, computer, done by computer by John Byrne. I will drop you off at your house, Helena. Whatever works is still to be done at the museum can wait until morning, she says. I quite agree, Diana. Yeah, I'm bushed, too, even though we missed all the fun, Helena. I'm ready to hit the sack. And Mike says, you're more than welcome to come in for a while if you like, Diana. And she says, no, Mike, as you said, you are tired. You should get some rest before you file your report with your superiors. And Mike says, I'm not all that tired. Please come up for a while just to talk. And she says, Mike, you know, he's human. She's a goddess. Nah, it won't work. It won't end well. Mike, you have been a good friend in the months since I moved here to Gateway City. I count myself lucky to have found someone like you so soon after arriving. And I know there have been times when you have wanted more of our relationship than I was willing to give. Perhaps you have even been deserving of more. And if I have led you on, in any way, I am truly, deeply sorry. This is called the friend zone. This sounds a whole lot like a kiss-off, Diana. If I understand that phrase correctly, it is not. I love you as a friend. Oh, the friend zone. Mike, a dear, dear friend whose absence would lessen my laugh. But because of that friendship, because of the feelings I have for you, I must now be honest, and you must be strong enough to accept what I have to say. In other words, I don't want no stinking human. Mike doesn't like being in the friend zone, so he goes, it's that Champion guy, isn't it? Him and his good looks and his muscles and his money. I'm surprised you'd fall for something like that, Diana. And Wonder Woman says, we have no control over where the fates lead us. If Aphrodite deems Herald Champion to be the first with whom I know love, then so be it. You'd always think Aphrodite would want Superman, but can you accept this and be happy for me as a friend? No, not yet. Anyway, and not for a long time, I don't think, he says. So he says, I am sorry to hear you say that, Mike. As sorry as I am for any pain I may have caused you without meaning to. Yeah, can't help it. Please believe me when I say I never meant to hurt you in any way, Mike. Mike's like, good night, Diana. Well, what do you expect? She's a freaking superhero. So look at her all sad. Oh, that's all right. It's a good call. This looks like a face. Here's two eyes and the mouth here. So, and again, this computer generated, done by John Byrne. And so he's walking here, sees this kitty, and kicks him. So he's like, oh man. And he's like, here, kitty, kitty, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I'm just crappy mood. And they're behind her. And he's try to get the cat. And here is Cheetah. Oh boy. And thus we end our issue finally here. And next issue, because you demanded it, the return of one of Diana's oldest foes. Be here in 30 days for Claws, Part 1. So